Okay, let's try another league with Bant Living End in post-Ring Ban Modern. This is the version of the deck I'm playing. I'm messing with it a little bit. I'm trying a Lush Porticio so I can get a white Surveil land with the Generous Ent. I'm back on Press the Enemy because with 4 Living Ends you tend to draw it a lot, and Press the Enemy gives you something to do with that. And I'm on 2 Sky Turtle because I like turtles. Over the sideboard, really just I think this is a pretty stock sideboard. Maybe more people play 2 Force of Vigor. I don't really like Force of Vigor that much. I don't find it that necessary. I think Foundation Breaker and Besage are good enough. I like the one of Teferi. In certain matchups, this card's really hard to deal with. And I really just like subjecting people to all the misery that I had to deal with playing against this card. And then we got Draenith Magistrate. This is the free win card versus Storm, Inevitable Betrayal, Rex Eldrazi. Mystical Defeat for blue decks is usually better than Force of Negation. Leyline of the Void is actually quite good against the Frog Tide decks. Also, it's very good against Underworld Breach and just graveyard strategies in general. I mean, it's modern. It's always going to be a good card. Commandeer, I kind of like Commandeer as a replacement Force of Negation in certain matchups that I can use on my turn. And then I just really like Besage. I think it has a lot of utility. Going up to 2 of them. Even I could see taking out Force of Vigor for another Besage. This card's really good. If you've been watching the Dank Living End and the Battle of Void's Living End series, you know Besage is like, it's just such a free card to side in a lot of matchups, and you're almost never unhappy that you drew it. All right, let's go play a game. Okay, we're on the, I don't know if we're on the player of the draw, but we got a mulligan in this hand. And this is keepable. Not knowing anything else, I'm going to put back Otawara. Our opponent's name is Rift Bolt, but it doesn't look like that card's going to be a problem. This, at first glance, looks like Yawgmoth, which is a rough matchup, but we do have tools, especially in the sideboard, and we do have Endurance in our hand. I'm going to pay the 2 life here. If I sound out of breath, I decided to stop subjecting people to the squeaky chair, but it's the only chair in my basement right now, so I'm crouching like a catcher. Okay, opponent is playing junk, it looks like, or just another black fat. No, they're playing 4 color. I don't know what's going on. This looks like something I would play. Voice of Resurgence is a card we should be well equipped to beat. I'm going to see if I can find a subtlety for that. I can't. So we might take a pounding from this Voice of Resurgence, but right now this is looking doable. I'm just going to Force Cycle now. We are not good on... No, we're good on all our colors. You need double blue, double green, and then once you have that, you're pretty good to go. That was stupid. I should have got a blue. But against a creature beatdown deck, I want to keep my life total high. And I don't think this Curator of Mysteries is going to be the difference. Whenever an opponent casts a spell during your turn. Alright. So, we're not going to be doing that in this game. Not getting a blue there might have been a punt, but in a world where we get disrupted and we need extra time to draw into another Cascade spell, this extra 2 life is probably going to be more important than having a 4/4 in the graveyard. So that's kind of my logic for why I got Basic Force there. Although, I should have played the Hallowed Fountain. That was a mistake. Maybe we'll just draw a fetch land here and get out of it. Although fetch land wouldn't help. Okay, don't listen to me about mana bases right now. I will draw the extra card now. There's Press the Enemy. That's quite good. So, I gave that whole spiel about preserving our life total, and then I just went hamburgers on the life total anyway. Opponent has a blue mana up, so we could get countered here. Is this like Scion? Hopefully they remand it. Nope, okay, they just have nothing. Okay, we should be able to cobble together a win from this position. I haven't seen this deck in Modern in a long time. I'm not even sure what this is. It kind of looks like... Yeah, I'm going to pause it and run and get something real quick. Okay, as I was about to say before I rudely interrupted myself, this reminds me of Death Shadow from Old Modern. People used to play 4 or 5 color Death Shadow with a lot of shocklands. Against a deck where all I saw was Voice of Resurgence, I'm going to take out the Forces. I'm going to bring in 2 Foundation Breakers, a Beseiju, and a Teferi. And the thing that these cards all have in common is that they are bounce spells or destruction spells for artifacts. When I don't know what I'm going against, I usually start by assuming that my opponent's going to try to fight me with artifacts and enchantments. Things like Leyline, Chalice, Soul Guide Lanterns, Relics, Rest in Peace. Our opponent could have almost anything because they showed us a bunch of colors. I'm going to keep. This hand just needs a blue mana and it's pretty good. Double Endurance isn't the best, but Street Wraith can solve a lot of problems. If he does anything weird on turn 1, I can dig with Street Wraith for an answer. And by an answer, I mean just Subtlety. Because I took out all the forces. Well, I'm going to start with the Lush, because we won't have an option to play that untapped ever. And I'm going to bin that. When these Surveillance first came out, I was kind of a doubter, but when you think about it, you're just putting a card from the top of your library into your graveyard, which is just bypassing the need to pay mana to cycle it. And it's also huge when you just get a free living end to put in your graveyard that you don't have to draw. Our opponent surveils and keeps it on top. And they play the Witch card. Witch Enchanter, Witch plus Meadow. They Overlord. Is this a creature spell on the stack? Let's try to find a Subtlety and then see if we're allowed. That was a bad draw. Okay. So, no Subtlety, no blue mana. And we need help somewhat badly here. We don't have the opportunity to respond to this with Endurance because it's all one trigger. So when there's no opportunity between when he puts these cards in his graveyard and when he returns it to his hand because it's all one ability. What did he get? I'm going to look at the game chat. Renegade Rallier. Okay, he's playing some sort of combo deck with Renegade Rallier, it looks like. That card usually is like a combo enabler. Let's go ahead and get the Hedge Maze. Then it was such a good draw. So good, we're just going to bypass drawing the next one. If he plays Voice of Resurgence, I think I will Endurance before Living End. What does that do? I guess Voice of Resurgence and Endurance don't matter. It just matters whose turn I do it on. Okay, well, he doesn't have a creature in play. So this card is if you have a creature. And he's holding up, looks like just nothing. This just looks like a free win. The Street Wraith would be good. Sky Turtle is also not bad. Let's start by getting rid of his graveyard. I don't want him to have any creatures in play. I'm willing to pay a card just to get rid of the Overlord because the Overlord could like dig him into a Solitude or it could just bring him back in the game somehow. And Cascade. Cast the Living End. Okay, our opponent endurances. That might have been a reason to hang on to the endurance. He's going to get his endurance back. Oh, I gotta stand up for this. I'm avoiding using my chair because my chair squeaks and I don't want to torment everybody's ears. Okay, so this isn't going great for us. But it is 3 cards versus 4, and we do have some diggers and a bounce spell. Although I don't want to bounce that endurance. Although he can use it to combo here, unfortunately. We might have just got. I said our opponent was holding up stone nothing, but I forgot. Modern has 25 Force of Wills in it now. This card's so busted. You get to look at the creatures before you decide. Hopefully he just whiffs. He didn't whiff. He's putting something in play. So Birthing Ritual, if you don't know, at the beginning of your end step, if you control a creature, it will get the top 6. Then you may sacrifice the creature. If you do, put a creature that's 1 bigger or less in mana cost onto the battlefield. He doesn't have anything too broken here. It's just the Bony Boy. And he's missing land drops. So I think what we do here is Waker, unfortunately. Yes, I like Hollowed Fountain. Play Hollowed Fountain. At the beginning of combat on your turn. And get rid of his creature. And I know this looks like a bad play, but I don't feel like I have a great chance of winning this game. And hoping that he remains land light and unable to do anything for a while I find another Cascade spell is one of the ways that I could win the game, so I'm playing for that. Like, it's effectively 6 cards versus 1. He's got 2 great enchantments in play. Oh, I forgot Emperor of Bones is 2. I thought it was 3. Golly. That's a really good 2-drop. That's threatening to kill me pretty fast, too, because if he gets that turtle back, or if he gets that turtle into play under his control, Emperor of Bones basically lets you, like, active treason your opponent's graveyard 1 creature at a time. Okay, he sacks it, so whatever he found was better. There's Renegade Rallier, so, okay. Another Living End would be good. And by Living End, I mean Cascade Spell. Hey, look at that. I'm not going to play my land before. I don't think it matters. I want to leave up blue mana. Blue, white, green, Cascade. I should add, just before this league, I played another league with the same deck and got a 4-1. The only thing that beat me was a deck kind of like this. It was like the mono white Hate Bears deck. Okay, and hopefully this board is hard for him to deal with because he's destroying me in every other aspect of the game. I do have a double. If he deals with his Waker Blades, I've got double Exalted Unblockable Street Wraith. Which, if I had a nickel for every time it happened, I'd have 1 nickel. This is the first time. That I can remember, anyway. There's not a lot of swamps in Modern being played at the moment. Yeah, there's Voice of Resurgence. I think what I'm going to start doing is... I'm the beatdown here. I can smash with everybody. Hopefully. He's going to get a Voice of Resurgence token if he sacrifices the voice. He also gets his impending guy. Okay, so maybe I shouldn't attack. I should only attack with the Street Wraith, I think. That way, if he wants to attack, he's got to sacrifice creatures into Waker Void. I mean, we're grasping at straws here. This game's not going our way so far. Yeah, and that's going to go get us Solitude. This card's really good against us. I think white weenie hate bear type decks are the absolute best deck against Living End. And I don't really even think it's close. Now that people don't play Belcher very much, I think these are like by far the best decks against us. Solitude should pop up. No, he gets Witch Enchanter. Interesting. So he doesn't have Solitude in his deck. I should have played this land last turn. That was dumb. I will attack. Because now I have this bounce spell. This is when it attacks. So I'm going to bounce this before combat. I assume if he didn't get Solitude, that means he drew his Solitude and he's just waiting to use it on this Waker of Waves. And if he goes to discard, if he goes to pitch a white card to cast Solitude, at least I can sink it and hope he doesn't have another white card. Yes, that's a keep. That's a really good hand. This is like a 9-card opening hand. And we'll go ahead and ship it to his turn. Alright, back in the catcher stance. My feet hurt. I'm wearing slippers, but my floor is quite hard. It's a tile floor. Let's see what I need. That's pretty good. Alright, I'm good to go get... I'll just take all the damage here. Even though I can kind of... I think this was a mistake. I can kind of chill it with the graveyard for now. Because, like, when he has Endurance, I don't think I want to overcommit to the graveyard. I'm actually going to keep Street Wraith in my hand now. I'm going to use this Subtlety aggressively. And because I took... like 7 self-inflicted damage, I'm like basically 1 turn cycle closer to losing if the game gets out of hand. We've also got the Seiju if he does something like cast, what's it called? Rest in Peace here. Go to his end step and get a Surveil land. I haven't seen any land destruction out of him, fortunately. I'm gonna put that on top. I'm not counting on my first Cascade winning the game, and so I want the tools to play a longer game. One thing I am going to do is cast Teferi, so if he's going to try to beat me with Endurance, he has to do it on his turn, and I'll know about it. I'm not sure what all he can do against this. It seems like most of his hate was creature-based. Plus Teferi. I'm not going to minus it to draw a card because he could have Thalia, the dog. It's kind of ridiculous they made such a powerful creature, a Corgi. Okay, he gets the Mortuary. He bins a Solitude. That's good to know about. So this might be a game where I give up the idea of winning with a Cascade, because his graveyard he has Endurance, which he doesn't because he has. Well, he could have Endurance now. We have to. What's actually Street Wraith? Okay, we must fight that. In my opinion. Now I can Cascade. And Solitude will only pick off one thing. If he wants to Endurance, he has to do it during his main phase. Apparition can take out my Teferi, which would allow him to Endurance on my turn. Yeah, see, he has to Endurance now. So now we know about it. So now we know what we have to do. I can't believe somebody would play Endurance. That's very rude. But now he just got horrible card advantage out of that. Some would say card disadvantage. I have two choices here. Do I Surveil or do I just put Foundation Breaker in play? I think what I do is I put one Foundation Breaker in play. Just cast it. Because I can... One, it's likely to die and go to the graveyard, which helps for future living ends. Two, I can pick it up again with Teferi or Sky Turtle. And three, I do have to attack the opponent down to 0 sometime. And I have another one, 4. There's 4 reasons to cast a 4-mana 2/2. Renegade Relier. He does have Revolt, so he can go get... He can just get the land. It has to be smaller than this, so... 2 or less. It has to be 2 or less, yeah. I think I will bounce the Rallier now. I don't find that card very threatening. He's already got all the lands he could ever need. That was a terrible draw. That was better. And rather than save up and try to acquire enough lands to cast this, I'm just going to Force Cycle it for a Surveil land. I'm really glad I put the Surveil, the Lush Portico in the deck, because now I can go get a white Surveil land with Hint. Probably already said that, but it feels much better. I was playing without it for a long time, and I think it's the right play. Hedge Maze is the better card to see in your hand, but having them both in your deck is nice. There's Lush. Hopefully been something like a big creature or another living end. Although I think I would keep a Sky Turtle. Boom. No drawing living end for me. Never. So he can rally here and get another fetch land. Hopefully that's all he does. And then I think what I do is I leave this back to block. Right now, his graveyard is Solitude Endurance. Mine's just Generous Ent. So if I played Charlotte's Agent, the Solitude would eat my Ent. It'd be Endurance and Solitude versus the Charlotte's Agent. So we have to hang back. Why couldn't this go like game 1? I liked game 1 much better. Okay. I'm going to plus. I'm going to leave Foundation Breaker back and just cast a Curator of Mysteries. This is 3 hits in the air anyway. So attacking with Foundation Breaker, there are some scenarios where it doesn't do anything. And I think there's a lot of scenarios where he kills one of these creatures, but not both, and then attacks Teferi possibly for lethal. Because he could have had that flash creature at any time. He's got Flicker Wisp in his deck. He probably has Thalia. I can't stand that card. Need to get a Rise desk for my home office. I've got one in my work office, but I'm standing right now. Disciple. Okay, he's just hard casting it. You may sacrifice creature. If you do, draw 3, gain 3. Well, I can't do anything about that. So he's going to draw 3 cards here. This is a 6-mana Ancestral Recall, gain 3 life. Arguably a good card in this situation. He goes up to 6 cards in hand. And it's a 3/3, so I don't have a good block. Unless I leave back Curator. But if I leave back Curator, how am I going to win the game? Alright, that has potential. I can attack with Curator and leave back Curator. Also, a little bit of a bummer, I never saw an artifact or an enchantment for these Foundation Breakers. So they're just bad cards that are replacing potentially better cards. I think I took out some, what did I take out for these? I took out 4 Force Negations, and I think I took out one Ardent Plea and maybe a Striped Riverwinder. A Striped Riverwinder would have been much better. There's the Apparition. I think he's forced to use it on Teferi. Yeah, he doesn't like Teferi. So now Endurances are back online, and there's a good chance he has one. He's still winning the Graveyard War. He can Fatal Push now. We are close to finishing him off. Okay, now these Curators are lethal if they touch him. There's a Charlotte's Agent. He's going to get Emperor of Bones, possibly. No, he gets the Birthing Ritual. So if he sacks this Frailes, he can get any creature in his deck. I've thought about playing this in Living End too. But overall, I think it's kind of bad. Okay, well, if he ever sacks the Apparition, I get a 3/3. And whatever he does here has to either finish off a creature. Unfortunately, he's got 14 looks at Solitude. Already 1 in his graveyard. Hopefully he's just playing 1 as like a Silver Bullet target. Okay, just Overlord, but he can go get Solitude. Well, that sucks. He's going to get the... I'm pretty sure he insta-picked up Solitude. Let's check the chat. Show game log. Solitude, yeah. If he waits till my turn and I draw Subtlety, I could beat the Solitude. He should Solitude right now, if he can, I think. He probably wants to wait and see if he can get value from me attacking. He sacks, gets Flicker Wisp. Now he can... Okay, he's giving my creature Vigilance. Oh, beginning of the next end step. Alright, well. A little late for that. I can... at least kill the Overlord. Although, I could, if he only had 1 Birthing Ritual, I'd go after that. But this Overlord's going to run away with the game on its own. So, I mean, I don't know. What would you do? And, okay, I think doing that... So, he's going to Solitude to take away my flyer. And since that's the case, I'm never going to get to block with it anyway. Anyway, I think the reason killing Overlord is good because I can Endurance it away at some point. And he does eventually run out of creatures. Should I have attacked with everybody there? If I attack with everybody, he only has to... He can just Solitude 1 thing, and then he does not have lethal on the crackback. So I probably should have thought a little harder about that. I think attacking with everybody there was actually correct. Oh, but there's also no way he doesn't have an endurance in his hand because he's just been sitting there with 4 cards in hand like the whole game. And he's seen over half of his deck. So I think our best draw is endurance. This seems to be a dicey situation for him because he's taking his time. I really should have attacked with everything last turn. I forgot I had this curator coming off of Flickerwisp Prison. I'm also just straight up sitting on the ground now. If you've ever listened to Lil Jon, you know what I'm talking about. I'm getting low. Opponent is using their sweet time. I don't know if they're thinking or if the Magic Online client is just freezing on them. They tap some mana. They look to be casted to Solitude. I know they have one. They're tapping Siege Rider mana. They cast an Overlord. Okay. That's quite bad for us. I think that if I were them, I would have used the Solitude first if I could have to get it back. But they can pick up Endurance here. What do they get? Twinning Twins? What is Twinning Twins? Oh, okay, it's that card. It's just a no target. He's just casting the 4/4. I know this card. I draft it in that set quite often when I play Magic Arena because that card comes around a lot. All right, now he goes and does his thing. Maybe he'll deck himself. No, it doesn't mill cards. It just gets 1 out of the top 7. So he's looking at cards he's already seen at this point. Goodbye, Twinning Twin. There's Solitude. That's not good. So we're slowly dying a painful death here. I kind of would prefer just to lose to burn so that the games go by quick. Because you got to keep playing these games on the off chance you don't lose. Unfortunately, this is just going to be a long, painful loss. Okay, that sucks, so I'm not going to cast it. I'm going to cast this card just as a blocker, just to slow the game down. I need an Endurance. Maybe we'll make his client spaz out and win the game. All right. So Pressing Enemy will let me cast Living End, but not Leyline of the Void. And the thing is, if I chump block the Solitude, he can get it back next time he attacks. I mean, there's no way we're winning this game. In fact, I'll probably just cut this game out. It's not that I don't want to show myself losing. I don't want to show myself losing these boring, slow games where we never had a chance. All right, it's round number 2. I'm sitting back in a chair like a normal person, trying not to move at all. This hand is like a good 5, but I'm not going to keep 2 Living Ends. I mean, against like a normal deck, this 5, if you just cross out the 2 Levinens, this is good enough to steamroll a lot of people, but the problem is we don't know for sure that it is, so. Oh, it's the God Mike DeVoe. He plays a lot of Teamer Eldrazi, which that could be, but I don't want to keep it. This isn't really, arguably this is way worse, but at least it has some velocity. So Mike DeVoe, every time I played him recently, and including in the last video I did with Merfolk, he was playing like Teamer Eldrazi. I think this player is famous for the prison deck, known as Prison Mike, a reference to The Office, which is quite humorous. And every time you play against him, he just types in this chat, "Don't drop the soap," every 5 seconds. So I'm going to keep that, ship the regular forest, done, and yeah, he's playing that Eldrazi list again. So I'm going to start with a Rainforest and pass. Our life total doesn't matter because we're either going to win or lose by hundreds of life. So that's hyperbole, but I think that's how the Eldrazi matchup. I think you should abuse your life total as much as possible. They don't play Reality Smasher. They don't really play a ton of creatures in general. They just play creatures that are really good. Raucous Theater, okay. Haven't seen that one yet out of Eldrazi. And he doesn't bin anything. Nice. There's Force, which is pretty good, I think. There's another Force, which is necessary because I don't have anything to cast the first Force with. So good. Get the Meticulous Archive. And I think I just have to graveyard that because I can't cycle it, and I need to eventually draw a Cascade spell before he gets his Eldrazi mana set up. Because once they get a Kozilek's command with 5 mana available, they can exile a bunch of creatures. It's just a counterspell for living into that point. So he's got a soul land here. I would really like to make a use of these Force of Negations by getting something that he wants. I haven't seen Raucous Theater out of this deck, so that's piquing my interest. Let's go get Lush. Yeah. This way I have double green, double blue after playing this land. Or counterpoint, we just jam it. I don't think anything too bad can happen to us here. And this is a point that I was making about the first hand. The first hand looked bad because there's 2 living ends, but arguably it could have done just as well against this. I don't even think it's arguable. I think it would have done about as well. I wouldn't have the 2 Street Wraiths, though. He can Eldrazi command and get 1 creature out of my graveyard, but that's it. Done. Okay, so it looks like we've stolen a free win here, which is what Living End has always been good at doing. We get a lot of free wins game 1 because people sit down and cross us and they think they're going to play Magic, but we're not. I think that's what's always appealed to me about the deck, is I like playing decks where you render a lot of your opponent's cards worthless. He should have done this before. He can't cast Through the Breach next turn. No, he can, because it only costs 1 red. I always get that card confused. If he casts Through the Breach next turn, I sack 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6... block with a Generous Ent or Subtlety. Block with a Subtlety, and then I still have Street Wraith, Generous Ent to attack him with. Assuming he attacks with Emrakul after casting Through the Breach. But I have double Force of Negation, so it don't matter. You can survive fairly early Through the Breaches with Living End by just you block with your face. I've done it before. I've actually won games with no lands in play. Okay, well, he doesn't seem like he's going to cast through the breach. I wish my opponents would play faster when I'm recording, because now I got to go in and cut all this out. So I'm just going to throw in a plug here. I've been playing a lot of pre-Fire Modern, and by a lot, I mean about 6 matches every 2 weeks in the league. That format's pretty fun, but I really like playing it because the players are all very fast. Like, I rarely have games where anyone gets less than 10 minutes on their clock. It's a modern format that ends just before War of the Spark, so there's no 3 minutes of Fairy or Karn or any other cards past that. There's no Modern Horizons. And it's got a relaxed ban list. So Splinter Twin is legal. Green Sun, Zenith. What are you doing? Green Sun Zenith is legal. Even though it's legal now in Modern, I guess. But it's worth checking out. I'll leave a link down below. It's a lot of fun. We need more people. The weekly league is getting like 10 to 20 players. I think if we were getting like more than that, that would be cool. So, special shout out to all those guys. There's a small but relatively active community. You can usually find a couple games a day if you're trying to. And I'm not the kind of person that just slings around the word community, but I mean, it's fair to call it that. Let's go ahead and play the Portico. Go ahead and plop that in the graveyard. And attack. It's funny, we could also survive an Emrakul hit by just cracking the food token and going to 1. The question here is, what do I do on his turn? Assuming he doesn't scoop. Do I stop on his draw step and Beseiju the Soul Land? I think well, if I'm going to do that, I should do it now. That way he loses the Devourer, even though I don't think he's near casting it. I don't think he's casting it this game. So, I mean, this is a situation where it's like, I feel like one of those plays is 98% chance to win, and one of them is 95% chance to win. And it's hard to tell which is which. But there's a lot of doing that with Living End. A lot of times you're figuring out which play gives you a 10% chance and which play gives you a 15% chance to win. Which doesn't seem like it's helpful, but it does add up over your career. You will go events where you get an extra game win, which turns into an extra match win, which can be the difference between top 8 and not. Okay, so let's see what land he gets. I think I absolutely don't pass it past. Darn it. Okay, whatever. I forgot I don't have a stop in my end step. That's twice now I've done that. I've lost that game because I didn't have a stop on my end step before. I can still Force of Negation and Beseiju if I need to this turn. So, yeah, I think I was pretty safe there, but that was still technically bad play. Bring into Fairy, Beseiju. We'll bring in Force of Vigor. And Commandeer. Although that is kind of strange, bringing in all these green cards and Commandeer. So I think I'll actually take out the Force of Vigor. I don't like Force of Vigor that much. I play it kind of because everyone else does. Because I'm a poser. I think I actually want Mystical. No, I don't want Mystical. I want Inevitable Betrayal. These colorless Eldrazi, well, not colorless, but these decks with colorless cards in them tend to be really good at graveyard hate. Like, specifically graveyard hate. So I think I'd rather have Inevitable Betrayal. And then if that's the case, I think we can take out Press the Enemy. striped. Oh no, we don't want endurance. Endurance isn't good. I'll put back the blue cards. There we go. When you bring in Commandeer, you want to keep your blue card count pretty high. This hand's actually great because we don't need a graveyard. We're no longer a living end deck. And this seems to always get Eldrazi players. Now, Mike DeVoe plays a lot. He's one of the trophy leaders. And in general, it seems like he's a pretty knowledgeable Magic player. So he probably knows what I'm up to. But the thing is, like, I've never met someone who was actually just crazy enough against Living End in games 2 and 3 to just not bring in all of their graveyard hate. Because it's an advantage you have with Living End is you can get card advantage by virtue of your opponents having cards in their deck that you're not planning on beating, like this. This is exactly what I'm talking about. He mulliganed to this, and the rest of his hand may be bad now. So now we have 2 cards worth of card advantage on him, plus a third card. So he's got 6 cards in play, but one of them doesn't do anything, and he shipped one away. So he's got basically 5 cards versus 7. Yeah, I did the math wrong. This is 2 card advantage. What is he playing? This is weird. I haven't seen Black-Red Eldrazi. I'm going to act real desperate. I guess he can't see me acting, so this just looks totally normal. And that was a totally pointless distinction. But in paper, I act annoyed in this situation. Because on the off chance that I lose, I want my opponent to think it's because of that ley line. I used to make such a big deal about Grafdigger's Cage. If I was going to lose the game anyway, and then like on turn 3 or 4 they popped on a Grafdigger's Cage, I would act like the Grafdigger's Cage is what beat me. Let's go get a white Surveil land. And we'll pretend to be sad when we put a card in our graveyard. So we need to get... we can get Meticulous, that's fine. In that. That could have been good if we draw the IB. Let's Force Cycle. And make it look like we're digging. Well, that sucks, because now there's only 1 in our deck. But 1 should be enough. Usually it is against Emrakul, and we can always suspend this next one. Okay, so he doesn't have enough lands because he mulliganed to a Leyline and kept a Leyline hand. So, kaboom. Now the jig is up. Inevitable Betrayal target you. What do we get to get? Ulamog the Defiler, Emrakul the Aeon's Torrent. I mean, it's always Ulamog the Aeon's Torrent, but what does Ulamog the Defiler do? That doesn't mean anything. Alright, we want Emrakul. Boom. Alright, and we get a free win from Inevitable Betrayal. Inevitable Betrayal is like the hardest free win card we have. It might be just as good as Draenith Magistrate. On to round 3. We found an opponent for round 3 instantly, and we won the die roll. That's a good 6. But if this had a land cycler, I would keep it, but it doesn't, so I'm going to mulligan. Yeah, see, this is better. This is at least going to hit lands. Although, if the last one hit lands, then the last one was great. But this is also pretty good. Keep, put back Living End, kaboom. Minimum pain, play the island and pass. Although I'm a big believer that you can tell a lot about what someone's playing just based on which art they play for their island. This is a super not specific island. Usually when people play like a very specific full art, they're almost always on like a blue moon or a merfolk strategy, I've noticed. Like nobody just has a one of island and it's like the full art cup island, I've noticed. So that's my theory and I'm sticking with it. I'm going to go looking for a subtlety. Even though, well, subtlety, you can't do anything, but, you know, at least I cycled. There's Hornithopter. Opponent's playing classic affinity, but it's a slower deck now. And besides these cards they're going to draw, I should not have played Misty there. I think I should have played Generous and gotten a Lush. But I can just go get the Lush now. I mean, it's kind of six of one, half dozen of the other. And there's Urza's Saga. So now we need to draw into a Cascade spell pretty quickly. I need to get the Lush. And then sure. Actually, I should have got the Lush. Whatever. Hedge Maze. Some land mismanagement there, but I do have the option next turn if I draw it. Boom. Well, now I'm taking an extra damage. Hopefully we get a free win out of this. Or I just don't cast it. I just cast it next turn. I think that's the play. I'm going to graveyard that. I'm a little bit concerned about these Urza Saga tokens that I'm going to have to deal with. But I have a bounce spell for one of them, and he's going to be low on artifacts. Because 3 of his artifacts are creatures, which I'm going to do away with. He doesn't want none with that Ornithopter. We'll go get our final... No, we can't get our final... what's it called? Surveillant. Temple Guard. I'm leaving the basics in my deck in case he's got some sort of a mana destruction spell that lets me search. That's not bad. So I'll play the land tapped. And then I'm going to Ardent Plea now. I don't want to give him too much time. No, not going to pay for the Sentinel. Actually, I probably should have. This has given him more draws at things like Subtlety. No. So I should have paid 2 life there and paid for one of the Sentinels to keep a card out of his hand. If I would pay 2 life for him to discard a card, then I should pay 2 life for him not to draw a card. So. Hopefully it doesn't matter, because this board's pretty good. Sorry about the vocal fry. I shouldn't talk like that. He makes a construct. It's not that big yet. And then hopefully I just get to bash. He doesn't have the lands to cast like a Supreme Verdict. He can't get anything here to mess with me because I've already living ended. He gets the Hammer. But I've got blockers and I have Sync. So as long as I untap, I should be fine. There's the Paladin. There's the Hammer. There's the whatever it is. There's 14. I don't want to take 14. Alright, so if I take 14, untap, bounce the artifact, and attack, what happens? He blocks 5 and then takes 5, 10. So, yeah. Yeah, I go to 1. No gut shot. No gut shot for him, hopefully. Does a good draw. And then we just bounce. Attack with everything. Alright, we figured it out. All the artifact. This is the one matchup I think you want Force of Vigor in, like, badly. Do I want Commandeer too? No, I don't. Endurance does not do much. Although it is a green card for Force, but I usually hardcast Force anyway. And I guess take out a Curator. I want to keep all my Cascades in because sometimes you just like need them now. Opponent has on the 61 card special with a green border with a man with blood coming out of his mouth. If I had a blue card for this Force, I think I would keep it, but I don't. Mulligan. That's hopefully better. Hopefully I have time. And I'm going to bitch. Not, sorry, that was, I didn't mean to say a bad word. I'm going to ditch Press the Enemy. I hope they don't arrest me for that. I will keep and put back Press the Enemy. Starts the game with the Leyline Axe. I often wondered if Leyline Axe was good enough for these decks. Okay, if he's got another Mox Opal, he can equip the Leyline Axe. Oy, oy, oy. Equip 0. Well, that is a problem. Don't pay the life. I should have done the breeding pool there. I don't think I'm going to lose the game this turn. But I might. He could have Hammer. That's just boots, and it doesn't affect the Leyline Axe, which is the problem. Cigar is aid. That's not a hammer. Okay. Alright, so next turn we're going to, I think, breeding pool. Actually, I'm just going to use basic island. And evoke. I'm going to get the Leyline Axe here. And then I think the next one is going to go after the Sigarda's Aid. I'm glad that thing's not indestructible because I've never read it. Hopefully that slows him down a little bit. Does he have double strike? No, but he wins anyway. Alright. Well, that was foolish. I should have cycled. Oh, it's not too late. Alright. Well, it's a good thing I cycled. Go ahead and attack. Fool. Fallen into my trap. Like I've been saying, Force of Vigor is such a great card, and you should probably play 2 of them. That's like the most value I've ever gotten out of that card. But, I mean, it still might not be enough because Urza Saga is threatening to run away with the game here. But we can resurrect a single Foundation Breaker. Play. And there is a Sky Turtle to follow up. Okay, and then I think I'm going to take out the Urza Saga with this Foundation Breaker. I think Urza Saga is more threatening than Sigardazade. Because he has one card in hand. Yes, I'd like to use the ability. Thank you for asking. And his next creature is going to get bounced. It's going to eat Turtle. The chair just squeaked. I'm sorry about that. Been trying really hard not to squeak it. Hopefully he leaves out of shame. He fetches right away, indicating he drew a 2-drop. Yeah, and we don't want to bounce that. Target creature. So what I could do is use my Sky Turtle to bounce Foundation Breaker. Because I do like turtles. I could also, if I drew a green card... I'm going to see if I draw a green card. I did draw a green card. Okay. That's really decent. So what I can do here is Colossal Sky Turtle, get back Force of Vigor, and then pitch both the cards in my hand to kill stuff. Does he think he's the beatdown? Or does he have equipment here? He thinks he's the beatdown. Oy, oy, oy. Okay. What does Sigardazade do? I think I'd still want to wait for him to cast the hammer. I'm going to attack with a single creature. I have a blocker now. This looks like I'm holding back something to block the hammer creature. He's probably thinking that he's going to get me because he can play the hammer with flash after blockers. But little does he know. Remember when I said I should play 2 Force of Vigor? Well, I already thought ahead of myself. If I win this game, I would attribute it to mostly luck. Yep, there's the attack we talked about. Okay. I'll let that happen. And then Turtle. Oh, nice. We get both hammers. He didn't need to do that. Is he styling on me? No, I guess. I guess this is a somewhat legitimate play, but I mean, you got to think around the ways you could lose a game. Force of Vigor. And unfortunately for him, one of the ways he loses the game is Sky Turtle. He could also just still win. I do have a flash blocker now. That's also not bad. Does that get back any creatures? Yes, I don't want to get those creatures back. It's not lethal if I attack with both, so I'm only going to attack with one. And now I've got a flash blocker with flying as well as creature hate. So this next card off the top of his deck, I don't think it can kill me. It has to have lifelink. Or it has to be some sort of removal. Yeah, okay, we win. I think we got it. Cast the Subtlety. Man, I've been having fun ever since that first round. Okay, that was so easy. I'll go to one more. Round number 4 here, we've opened up a no-lander. And we'll keep that. And I'm going to put back the breeding pool. Nah, I'm gonna put back breeding pool. Done, because I can go get the breeding pool. There is a Marsh Flats. We sure have been playing against a lot of Marsh Flats this league. Just going to play Lush here and pass the turn. I don't need that. I don't like putting the basic lands in my graveyard, especially against a Marsh Flats player, because these decks a lot of times are the Hate Bears deck, which I absolutely despise playing against. And it's looking like that's what it is, but I just didn't need that land. I need a Cascade Spell. Game 1, your just turn 3 Cascade Spell is really good. Oh yeah, oh my gosh, I should have kept the bait. Well, it doesn't matter because I would have played it anyway. But yep, there's the Aether Vial. And I think I actually will try to counter that. Oh, that's not good. That was even worse. Drawing 1 living in is bad enough. That's both of them. Alright, let's hedge Maze. Hopefully there's a Cascader. Boom. And then hopefully he casts a creature here and gives me a chance to Subtlety. Because right now I don't have a big graveyard. I only have 2 creatures in it. And if he has a Solitude, and then like that 3-mana card that gets another Solitude, I'm gonna Subtlety that. Okay, that made my graveyard a little bit better. This deck is so good. I wonder what's keeping this deck down, because it crushes me. It must have bad matchups elsewhere in Modern. I can see it being bad against Energy because they would just flood the board. It doesn't seem like it has a mass removal type effect. This deck tends to use like a couple creatures to pick people apart. So if you just like flood it with cats, then it's going to have a hard time. Done. Hopefully they just Rage Scoop. But usually these Hate Bears players are very grimy. I don't mean that they're personally bad people. I mean like they're used to just digging games out of the absolute dirt. Because they want to drag every game real long. It's almost like playing against prison decks from back in the before time. Like you just had to know when to scoop because your odds of winning were just so low that they were a 0. Yep, and this is the exact card I was thinking about. He's going to go get Subtlety. Or Solitude. Let's see what he gets. This card is from the set Treasure Chest. Solitude, yeah. And the pick apart begins. I'll play the Forest. So now we need to draw. Press the enemy. He blocks. He's thinking about blocking just to save life total. Then he realizes he doesn't need it because he's way ahead. It doesn't look like he's way ahead, but I think he's way ahead. All he needs is a Solitude and an Ephemerate, and this game's pretty much over. And the thing is, I don't have much of a sideboard for this deck. The way that we used to, in the before time, win against this kind of deck was we had Beast Within, we had Fulminator Mage with Colgan's Command. We could kind of grind with them. But we don't really have a grinding strategy in this deck. Some of our sideboard cards are even off color, so they're totally uncastable. Yeah, this is looking like a the flicker card. I forget what it's called. The rebound card. Oh, I wish he would hurry up. There's the Tude. He goes for the tree. Yeah. Then he ephemerates it. Yep. Alright, I've seen enough. I don't need to play anymore. That might have been early, but I really don't think it was. Bring that in. I'm assuming he has the Overlord, and we just didn't see it. I'm taking out the forces. And I don't want Foundation Breaker, actually. I think I do want Teferi. We'll try this. Do I want Beseiju more than I want an Ardent Plea? No, I don't think so. I'm assuming he is that Overlord. He is playing the Overlord of the Baelmerk, and we just didn't see one. I mean, why else would you be playing that deck? Yeah, that's decent. Opponent's having a good think about their 7. All right. Your first land is like, or your off color, your 2-color lands are likely to eat the dust in this matchup. Although he didn't seem like he was playing a lot of land destruction. There's the Vial. Make it look like I'm digging for force. Make it look like I'm really digging for force. Well, it's the absolute worst draw in the deck, but that was a good one. Yep. Okay, so hopefully we can get a big enough graveyard that we beat the Solitude. And I want to find out, oh my gosh. I mean, I'm glad we're wasting these horrible draws. We're not wasting, we're using these horrible draws. Might as well get the card for it. He's Surgical Extraction, the Curator of Mysteries, so I need to cycle the one that's in my hand. Because they're both going to leave anyway. That draws another card. And Digging for Force Negation wouldn't even do anything anyway, because it's my turn. So that was smart of our opponent. And now he sees that my hand is terrible. I can fire off a really sorry Living End. I'm going to see if I can draw another Cycler. And then if not, I'm going to play the Sink tapped. Even better, I'll play the Hedge Maze. Got white mana next turn if I need it. I'm going to put that on top because I have 2 Living Ends in my hand. Even though I don't have high hopes for this game, I think this game has left the station, and it's only a matter of time before we realize it. But I've already realized it. Maybe I'm overly pessimistic, but this matchup is horrible. I think it's our worst matchup in the entire format. In the Pauper format too, probably. Actually, I think a Pauper deck could probably fight a Modern deck pretty well. There's Thoughtseize. Good luck taking my Cascade spells. I have 2 of them. The third one on top of my deck. Geez, opponents are taking so long tonight. Take the Shardless Agent. That's what you take. Unless you're going to take the Living End and Surgical, in which case do that. You don't have to write it down. Magic Online will show you. Although Reed Duke used to write down what was in his opponent's hands while he was recording videos on Magic Online. Does anybody else remember that? I remember that. He takes Sink into Stupor. Does he have another Surgical? I mean, what else am I going to do? The longer this game goes, the absolute worse it gets. He doesn't Surgical. These are unblockable Street Wraiths. He has mana for Recruiter of the Guard now. Yep, and then he gets a Solitude, and he ephemerates it, and then the game's over. If I draw land, I can bounce the Solitude with whatever it's called, the Flicker spell on the stack. Alright, I drew the land, so that went as well as it could. That unfortunately means we have to give him Solitude back. Well, actually, no, it's not unfortunate because he never gets the first one. No, he does get the first one because I have to get... So I have to let the first Solitude resolve because that's the only way it's going to bait him into playing... What's it called? I can't remember the name of the Flicker spell. Oh, he just does it on the end step. He pitched Recruiter of the Guard for this. I'm not going to press the enemy yet. Because if I do that, then my potential to use it as a Living End is gone. And I don't think I want to Living End again this game anyway. Because now his graveyard's better than mine. So I think he has another Solitude in his hand. Because why else would you waste it? Yeah, or he's got, like, some sort of good card. Yeah, there's the Thalia. Although that's not the best. So I think what he's... No, he's only got one card in hand. I was going to say he could... Well, he could... No, he can't evoke Solitude and then have Flicker. I'm not sure what he's going for. I think I would have waited till my turn if I were him to do this. There's Bones. So if I bounce that, I attack him down to 6 and then 1. And he's going to pick up a Solitude anyway. So I think what I do here, unfortunate as it is I let that resolve, and then I have to fight over the Solitude because if I can't kill him next turn or the turn after. So unfortunately, we are locked into slogging through at least 2 turns before we have a chance to win the game. And it's 2 cards versus 4, but really this is 2 cards versus 2 cards. Oh my gosh, I didn't think about the Thalia. Now he just fills up his hand. Ephemerate is the name of the bounce spell. Sometimes I remember it, sometimes I don't. Why does a dog have more power toughness than a human soldier token? Especially a Corgi. It's like the least threatening dog in the world. I have a Japanese Spitz. Go look up a Japanese Spitz. I think a Japanese Spitz might actually be more threatening than a Corgi. Because the Japanese Spitz kind of looks like a snow fox. Oh, but because it got Blunk, now it's a creature. Okay. And when it attacks. Alright, well, I'm digging. I'm a digger. If I hit like a streak of cyclers here. Yeah, there's just no way I win this game. Sorry, guys. Alright, round 5. We're 2-2, playing for our 30 play points or whatever you get. I'm going to keep this hand. Hopefully, Force Negation is good. And if it's not, hopefully we draw into a living end. Going to start with the archive. I like to start with fetch or with surveils even when I have fetches, because fetches have a choice later, whereas surveils don't. They're always tapped. We don't need lands, so I'll just bin that. We're giving away what we're doing, but I mean, our opponent already kept their hand, so. Yes, the classic Lord of the Rings character, Galadriel. Sorry, Eowyn. I don't remember Eowyn looking like that in the movie, but I'm pretty old. My memory could be bad. Another Marsh Flats player. Oh no, they don't like us today. Magic Online decided that 4-1 was the Bulldozer. I like that name. I'm okay losing to the Bulldozer. I'll just cycle. Why not? Another Portico. That's pretty good. Hopefully they just give us anything to do with this Hollowed Fountain. Or, I mean, this Force of Negation. That was a mistake. I should have played Waker. That was a huge mistake. I might go another turn here. Maybe we'll get some extra creatures out of them. Is there like a secret like club of people that play Black White Hate Bears and they all get on Magic Online at 11 o'clock at night? That's what it feels like. And the reason I'm not excited about a Living End is because I'm one Solitude away from them just basically totally stabilizing. One creature attacking them is not going to do it. Even if they have no board. You've got to grind them down, or you have to have an overwhelming board. I will play the Misty now. And if he goes for an Overlord, he might get greedy here. He's probably going to put a Thalia in play if he's thinking this hard. Or just another tap land. Yeah, tap land. Okay, so this might bait him into thinking the coast is clear for him to put an Overlord into play to fill up his graveyard to kind of give him Living End insurance. But I can get it with subtlety. I mean, there's so few things. I'm going to dig first to make it look like I had to draw this. Force of Negation, but there's so little in his deck to get. And I'm keeping the other Force of Negation in case he does have an Ephemerate on his turn. Because I don't think Ephemerate on his turn is a bad play. I'm going to Hedge Maze. There's all the tap lands. And I guess I'll keep this in case the first Living End is somehow not enough. It's at least blue for Force of Negation. And it will allow me to play a Subtlety Hardcast eventually, if I have to use Force of Negation on my next turn. Hopefully this is enough, because I hate playing against this deck. but like 4 creatures might not do it. If he goes Recruiter of the card, gets 5 creatures, but if he goes Recruiter of the card, gets Solitude, has another Solitude, like we're just done. Flickers Recruiter, gets another Solitude. Yeah, there's Solitude number 1. What did he discard? Aven. Okay. And because it's my turn, I can't force a negation. Yeah. That was bad play by me. I didn't think about it. I was so angry. I hate playing against this matchup. So it's not fun at all. At least I get to force the next one. Rebound's a trigger. Then the spell gets cast. I have to force this. And because these cards were exiled, keeping the what's it called? The Ardent Plea doesn't do anything because I don't have any creatures in my graveyard. Now there's a Flicker Wisp. That's not the worst. Yeah, that's actually really bad. Like that's what I was saying. Like, assuming one of these cards in his hand is white, this all would have happened anyway. I just wouldn't have a subtlety right now. If our opponent's name wasn't so cool, I'd be very jealous. I guess I attack. I meant to attack with both creatures there, but it's whatever. I'm very not into this league. I wish you guys would have seen the last league. It was actually fun. We got to play different matchups instead of 3 of the same thing. That happens to be the worst possible matchup. I don't want to put this in the graveyard, but I do have Endurances in my deck, and I can't just take... He can't just gain 3 every turn. That doesn't work for me, brother. Let's just go ahead and put some pressure in play, because Subtlety doesn't solve a problem forever. You can play that flyer that plots this card. They've been playing that. Yeah, Avian Interrupter. I don't know what plot does, but it seems like I can cast the card during my turn as a sorcery. Yeah, there it goes away. And Street Wraith can't be blocked. Unfortunately, I can never cast this Subtlety. It only costs 2. I can never cast it as an instant. Done. I'll go ahead and just game my life. We are at 33 against 14, but I think our opponent is like just basically 1 creature away from taking complete control of the game. And it could be a lot of creatures in their deck. Oh, that's not a creature. If he attacks, I think I'll block. Actually, no. If he attacks, I won't block. Goodbye, Charlotte's Agent. The question is now, do I cycle this Generous Int, or do I just bank on casting it? I don't have any Surveil lands left to get. So all the Generous Int does is give me mana. I'm going to defer for a turn. I don't think I'm going to get to the point where I'm casting 7 mana spells in this game. And so I'm going to hold off and just see what I draw next. Because if I cycle Generous Net, I know I'm drawing a land, because that's what it gets. If I draw a land naturally, then I'm one land away from hard casting the Ent, which I don't think is likely to win, but I think it's more likely to win than cycling it. And Ardent Plea, I guess, can be a force pitch card at some point. 3, 6, 9, 12 versus 4, 8, 12. So I think, actually, I was contemplating casting Ardent Plea just as an enchantment and not casting the Living End, but now that I have Subtlety, I'm going to force cycle just to make the average draw on my deck slightly better. I'll pay the 2 life. Now I've basically got 2 bounce spells. Ooh, you cast that instead of waiting for your Aether Vial. Well, now you get to use Aether Vial for it, buddy. But you can't attack with it. Kaboom. That's a low significance play, but it does at least tie up some of his resources next turn. Yep, he gets the Ent. I was never planning on seeing that Ent again anyway, except if he mutates, or whatever this is called. Adapt. Is Adapt kicker, or is it banding? Also, is Modern draft or commander? Well, there's a crappy draw. All right, we're not talking about that draw. Oh no, he can do it on his turn. How does this read? Okay, nice. Give me that. I knew I'd see him again. Best of both worlds. I gotta admit, that's a first. But he gets a food token, so he's able to gain 3. That does tie up 2 of his mana next turn. He also has the dog, so he could flicker his Emperor of Bones. And I'm not going to force cycle the Ent now, because if I draw 1, 2, 3, 4... If I draw a land, then I'm only 1 land away from casting it. It's kind of like the announcement of an announcement. The 6th land is the announcement that we're 1 land away. The 7th land is the announcement that we can cast the Ent. If any of you guys remember North American Star League, that joke might ring a bell. Maybe he forgets that the food token gains life, and I win by attacking the Street Wraith. And remember, this game was 5 creatures to like 0 creatures at one point. Now he's eating Living Ends out of my graveyard. Which I think I would go after Sink into Stupor, because it's a little bit better with Sky Turtle. But, I mean, we're splitting hairs. Alright, he gives up. He couldn't do anything somehow. Alright, so that was about as easy as a win comes against that deck. Going to take out Forces, put in Teferi because it wrecks the fake suspend card, and Foundation Breaker. And you know what? Heck it. Let's just go all in on the ley lines. Screw Leyline in particular. Screw him in particular, I mean. We can take out one Ardent Plea. We can take out Striped and Striped. Alright. Striped Riverwinder is kind of the whipping boy of cycling cards. It has the same cycling cost as Curator, but for some reason Curator just gets treated way better. This hand sucks. It does have a potential turn 3 Living End or Teferi, though. I have a Living End in my hand, but I have ley lines in my deck, so for that reason I'm going to mulligan once. I guess I'll keep this. It's got 2 sideboard cards in it. I think I need all the lands, and if that's the case, I'm going to put back... I mean, this hand sucks, too. This hand is freaking horrible. I'm going to mulligan again. Alright. There's at least a sideboard card. I'm going to put back Forest Odawara. Done. Behold. Even though I didn't see an Overlord the last game, I still think he has them. Why else would he play black? Besides, I mean, you don't just splash black for Emperor of Bones. What I don't know is if Leyline actually stops Overlord. That might have been something worth reading the card before I brought Leyline in. But too late now. Press the Enemy is not a bad draw. Oh, I should have cycled before. I want that in my graveyard. If I had a third land, I think I would keep that Endurance, but I don't, so I'm not going to. Yes, put a card in your graveyard. Okay. I'm going to pop out his graveyard and my graveyard, so I just feel like I'm winning. This guy's named Bulldozer. It's a great double reference. Reference to King of the Hill. Also reference to the Killdozer. I don't know if you meant it to be, but it is to me. These basic lands our opponent is playing. My goodness. Alright, let's see if we can... Well, I'm just going to do this. I'm going for a Living End win. This card is going to just run away with the graveyard, and I don't have the resources to fight it, so what I'm going to do is just hope I draw a land in my next 2 draw steps. And hopefully my graveyard can just survive being messed with. No. Alright, we just need a land next turn. Our opponent's on 4 cards as well. They also mulliganed once, or at least, maybe twice. I think once. Here comes the Emperor, most likely. Yeah. And he gets to eat 1, so this is what I was talking about. If I draw a land now, the damage is capped at 1 card. Unfortunately, every turn that goes by without me drawing a land, I'm going to lose a creature out of my graveyard. Well, there goes another creature. And because Leyline of the Void is black, I can't even pitch Subtlety. Probably lose a curator here. No, he wants endurance. Hopefully he puts another creature in play. He's probably holding up Thalia. He does not put another creature in play. I guess I dig with Waker Waves for land. I'm going to lose another creature. But I need to hit the land. My odds of winning this game are so low, I just have to be all in on the first plan I devised. Well, there's the heckin' land. At least I put 2 creatures in the yard. Let's play it. Another creature. Not what I wanted. There's an argument I should have kept that so I could surveil next turn. Yeah, there's Thalia. So what he can do now is attack me with Waker Waves. Then it goes away. I would have waited until I'd exiled Waker Waves. But he can flicker it with Thalia and get that ability back again from his perspective. So he puts in, he gets endurance. Nuts. I forgot. He gets the endurance. Okay, now I get it. Well, at least now that's out of the way. Also, did he let that go for a turn and not do that? That might have been crazy. Wonder why he cares about that. Because it comes back into play. I might have targeted my bones so I could do the rebuy, like reanimate thing again. Cycler. Alright, that's close. Okay. Okay, hear me out. What if we didn't lose? Hey, look, there's the third ley line. In the top 13 cards were 3 ley lines. Okay, now I have a proposition for him. It's that he doesn't have Solitude. Because if he doesn't have Solitude, we're looking decent for the next couple turns until he does. This can be Recruiter of the Guard, which will get a Solitude. No, it's nothing. Alright, what is he doing? What's he got going on over there? Now by letting me untap, he's making Subtlety a real card again. Attack for 6. There's Solitude. Just hard cast this now. If he's going to pitch that anyway, he needs to do it while I'm tapped out. So maybe this is the weaker of the black-white Hate Bears deck that we've played. Player. I mean, you guys tell me if you think I'm crazy, but I think he should have done that on his turn. Maybe he'll Shame Scoop. Bowmasters doesn't do anything. Did Bowmasters go way down in price and like now Overlord is the expensive card? That is 2 chump blockers. But overall, I think Bowmasters is just kind of unplayable in Modern now. It would feel really good to pick off Ocelot Prides with it, though. I don't know, I'm trying to fill dead air. My opponents are playing quite slow. Sorry this league was kind of low energy. I wish I would have recorded my last league. I was listening to Andrew WK. I was having a party. The winds were just flowing. But now it's 12:08 in the morning. Okay, and somehow we mulled to 5 and this game went well. Despite drawing a ton of uncastables. Okay, he's going to get a chump blocker. And he doesn't want to chump block with the Bowmasters, though. So I go to 3. I go to 4, but I thought he could attack, but he can't. I go to 4. And I'm going to cast the 3-mana card that does nothing else with Flash. And has reach. Goodbye, Graveyard. Kind of obnoxious to have that graveyard open. I don't feel good about it anymore. Alright, Hedge Maze, Lush, Meticulous. I don't have any more Surveils. But I do have the ability to attack with 3 creatures against 2 blockers, and they're both 1/1s. And before I go to 1 from his attacks, I'll gain the life. Or 2. Well, that's not a spell. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a good thing I had that clue. Not clue. Food. Artifact token. It's also a good thing I didn't fetch. No. All right, we did 3-2. So is a 4-1 60 play points, but a 3-2 is still 50? There's like no difference. All right, because you guys stuck around, I will show you my chest. There's 15 play points. Boom, we came out ahead. And a Timeless Dragon. Thank you for watching.